All right, you watch my back and I'll take the perimeter. Wait, perimeter? I'm supposed to make a video on perimeters. All right, mathletes, so let's look at the perimeter, this idea of perimeter here. And it's going to be nice, short, and sweet, so don't worry. It's not too hard, so that's the good news. All right, so when we're talking about the perimeter, we're just talking about the distance on the outside here. So if you're trying to find the distance along the outside, all we're going to do is add these distances that are on the outside here. We don't have to worry about, say they gave us, let me just mess this picture up real fast. Let's say they gave us like this distance is D. So if they said that distance right there is D, we would ignore it because we're only concerned about the distance on the outside. So here's one of our perimeter formulas. Sure, you could add all these up, but what they're saying is hey, these two distances in this rectangle are the same. So we have two widths, right? And these two lengths are the same. So we have 2L right there, right? So you could go ahead and add them up individually, or we could use this formula to save us some time. So write that down. All right, notice for a square, all the sides are the same. So because all those sides are the same, then what we're allowed to do is just multiply any one of those sides times 4 because they're all the same. So sometimes these formulas will help save us some time. And later on, as you move throughout algebra and calculus, you're gonna see how they really do help us out. If you have a triangle, right, again, all you do is add up all these distances and it's that easy. And when we have a circle, this was kind of tricky because we don't have like a bunch of sides. We have infinitely many sides. Later on, you'll get into that. But here, right, we really don't have sides. So what we do to talk about the perimeter, that distance, what we do is we call it the circumference, all right? And what you do is if they give you the radius, right, if they give you the distance from that center point all the way to any point on that circle, that's the radius, right? And all you're gonna do is you're gonna multiply the radius times 2 times pi. And remember, pi, we approximate it to 3.14. So let's do some examples where we see these formulas in action, and you're gonna see that it's actually not too hard. So let's take a look. All right, mathletes, so let's dive into this first example here. And we're gonna look at this rectangle. We're gonna find the perimeter of this rectangle. So just note that the width here is 3.1. And if this side is 3.1, we're gonna know this side is also 3.1. So again, what you're gonna see some textbooks do, and to be on the lookout for, is they might give this a little marking and this the same marking. And what that marking tells us is that those distances, the lengths, those widths, whatever you wanna call them, they're the same, they're equal. So make sure you write that down and be on the lookout for that. All right, and later on we'll do an example of where some websites actually forget to make those markings. So we'll show you what to look out for. All right, so we got those say widths, and then the lengths. Each of these lengths are equal, so they're gonna have a different marking. So I'm gonna say 2 little tick marks, and that's gonna be 5.5 feet. And again, make sure the units are the same. So make sure they're all talking about feet. In this case, they are. So now, using the rectangle, what you could do is you could add each one of these up individually, or you could use the formula. So using the formula, to get the perimeter, you do 2 times 5.5, all right? And then plus 3.1 times 2. And what I did here is I switched the 2 and the 3.1 just to show you that the order doesn't matter, because commutative property of multiplication says we could switch the order. So sure, you could put the 2 first, but when you're multiplying, remember, the order doesn't matter. And that's what's awesome. So let's go ahead and enter this into our calculator, and you do it with me, and let's see what you get. So I am getting 17.2, and remember what you gotta do. If we're talking about the perimeter, the units do not change. So write that down. Our units do not change. So we're getting 17.2, and make sure you label it feet, because sometimes people will put feet squared or feet cubed. Later on in a different video, we're going to talk about feet squared, which is talking about our area. Here, we're not talking about area. All we're doing is adding the distance all around that rectangle. All right, make sense? Good. All right, now let's look at our circumference problem. Notice they're giving us the radius here, right? The distance from the center to one point on the circle. So if the radius is 6, then you know that the diameter, if I were to go all the way across, I would add another 6, and so the diameter is 12. Do we need it in this example? No, but I just wanted you to make sure you knew that. All right, so the circumference, that circumference, we have a formula we're going to follow. 2 times pi times r. And remember, for pi, we're going to use 3.14. All right, that's the number we're going to use for pi. I put in parentheses, but again, all we're going to do is multiply that. And then we're going to multiply that times our radius, and our radius was 6. All right, our radius was 6. So now let's go ahead, take our calculators and multiply those three numbers. So here we go. So we got 2 times 3.14 times 6. So we're getting 37.68. And again, we're talking about feet because we're talking about that distance around the circle called our circumference. All right, so let's look at a worksheet here just to see how we use this idea when all these shapes, they change, right? So follow me. All right, mathletes, so the most important part of the video right here. And this is where I remind you to like, subscribe, and tell a friend or 10,000 about the things we're doing here at Dr. Math Studios. All right, guys and girls. So what we're gonna do here is I want you to notice what our friends over there at havefunteaching.com did. Great worksheet, but the only thing I want to add to this, right, is I'm pretty sure that they want, for example, number 1, I'm pretty sure they wanted that to be a square. So what we need to do, is make those tick marks so that you know all those distances, right, are the same. All those sides are the same, right? The same thing goes with number 3, because if not, if we don't know all these distances are the same, then we're missing too many pieces of information to actually find the perimeter like they want, right? So all we're doing is we're helping our friends out over there, and we're helping you out in case you ever run across a worksheet like this. So always make sure, right? Ask your teacher or whoever it is you're working with, did you mean for all these distances to be the same? And if so, they have to tell you that by making these markings. So we just want to give you a heads up. Be careful, you know, when you're faced with something like this, and like this arrow, if this is 750, then this side over here should be 750. And if this side's 400 here, right, the one I'm kind of shading in there, this side's going to be 400. So you want to be very careful there, because if they don't give you information, you have to make sure that you know all, right, that if they are implying that this side is the same as this side, if that distance is the same, then they should use the appropriate markings. And I know I'm using color coding, so let's still do 2 different markings. So here, since these are the same, I did 1 tick mark each. Since these are the same, I'm doing 2 tick marks, all right, just to help you out. All right, so with that bit of information, let's pick one. All right, let's do one of these together. Let's do number 4 together. All right, so let's do number 4. And again, if this is 72 meters, then this is going to be 72 meters. If this is 145 meters, this is going to be 145 meters. All right, so let's do number 4, and let's go ahead and we're going to do 2 times 145 plus, right, plus, and then we're going to do 2 times 72. So that's a 2 times 72. So let's go ahead, and if you're not allowed to use a calculator, then you're going to multiply first, right? Use your order of operations. So you multiply first, and whatever you get after you multiply, then you add those 2 answers. But I'm just going to add my calculator right here, so let's just go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and plug that in, and we get a grand total of 434 meters. And it's that easy, folks. All right. So what we want you to do is, we're interested in what you're getting for the rest of these answers. So if you want to comment down below what you got, we could go ahead and check your work. And I want you guys to look at what each other are doing so you could check your work. All right, mathletes. So hopefully this video was helpful, and we want you to like, subscribe, and tell us what video you want to see next. Peace.